Hello everybody and welcome back to week number 8 of stage 2 of the Quake Pro League. My name's Ketchup and I'm joined by Flea on the desk as always. And we're going into our second half of tonight's entertainment. And every match from this point on, just the matchups alone, are kind of ridiculous, Flea.
I mean, we've got Nosfa versus DaHanG first, then we've got Tux versus Base, Kilson versus Razy, and we're clearing things off tonight with Cygip versus Rafa. So, my goodness, some absolute top-level players all around.
I think we've been quite blessed with the games,
Oh, absolutely.
to be honest. There are no matches here that you look at and go, okay, it's going to be good, but I'm looking forward to this match or whatever. All of these matches are like, I'm very excited. There's so many layers to each individual one. So right now it's going to be a bit of a clash of some America's Titans, DaHanG versus Nosfa. Nosfa, I know he's been a little bit inconsistent.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he's still, there's still many moments of greatness when he plays. You can always expect him to do well enough that he's up there. You know, and DaHanG is, in many cases, that, but a little bit more efficient. DaHanG is another player that you'll always expect to just be top level. He brings some very smart plays, a lot of just champion familiarity, but in general, DaHanG, as someone who was often kind of recognized as being quite a team player as well, considering he plays duel, he's absolutely world-class.
Nosfa, I think, is a player that you can very well compare to someone like Cygip, who is just extremely confident in his playstyle. He's got amazing combat skills to show for it, as we're about to see in his introduction. The man is just extremely aggressive, and he knows how to use every single weapon in the game to perfection. And also, people just love Nosfa because he brings such personality to his plays, even when he's just playing online, but especially when he's on stage, he's doing his walk-up, he's popping off after getting amazing frags. The man just knows how to treat a crowd, and he is one of the people who can definitely challenge DaHanG.
He's a high-energy individual, and that is reflected in and out of his gameplay, and that's always something that kind of brings a unique edge to the world of competitive, because if someone's really feeling themselves and they've pumped themselves up in whatever way, you kind of know they're going into it with a fully screwed-on head. You know, it's kind of hard to catch Nosfa on like a really, really bad day. If you beat Nosfa, it's because you just played damn well, And DaHanG is definitely the favorite for me to win this. However, I would expect it to be at least a 2-1. And DaHanG is my personal pick to win this purely because of just, I just feel like DaHanG is currently just a bit stronger at Quake Champions in general because of what we see by previous weeks when we see him play. And the people that we've seen DaHanG bring it to in the world of duel, he's overall had more success.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to factor that in.
I mean, DaHanG has beaten 4 players so far, which is quite a bit higher than what Nosfa has done in Season 2, but the one person that DaHanG has lost to so far has actually been Cygip, and as I mentioned earlier, Cygip's and Nosfa's playstyles are actually pretty damn similar, so who knows? Maybe DaHanG has a bit of a weakness to people who are that supremely confident and capable of putting out that kind of damage, so it's going to be interesting to see whether Nosfa can bring that to the table again.
But I mean, DaHanG, sometimes there are some insane highlight reel moments for DaHanG, and you don't even know what it is. They're just these mini bursts of just fantastic aim and ridiculous kind of decision making. DaHanG is overall just a highly smart player. He's very intelligent. He's quite a scientist. Yeah, the scientist of the game, right? That's one of the things that DaHanG's always kind of been known for, especially in Quake Champions. Not really shy of just doing his research whenever possible.
Yep.
It's what made DaHanG and Rafa such an undefeatable 2v2 duo, back in the day where they ruled 2v2 with an iron fist because they were just so smart. DaHanG was just this efficient, crazy damage dealer with his own big brain, Rafa kind of as the leader, and DaHanG was just the one that was just getting the job done, right? They had such a wonderful synergy together that so much of that skill has translated into DaHanG's duel. That you can kind of see that every time he plays, and there's a reason he's one of the most dominant players in the world right now.
Yeah, absolutely. He's by and large the second best player in the Americas, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. If you look at the standings, if you look at the history, the only player that people are wondering about who is really going to be able to stick it to Rafa, if any, it's DaHanG. And right now, DaHanG's going to go up against Nosfa, another heavy hitter, someone who's had quite a lot of success. And when you look at the scoreboard, is significantly above the bottom rankings of the NA leaderboard. So I think we're shaping up to get a really good and explosive match.
Okay, so we're actually going to find out how explosive the matches will be as the vetoes have come in and we can go over and review the selections. Ruins of Sarnath first. The Strog and Pika picked immediately. You can't have Strog without DaHanG. I mean, they are two peas in a pod. The Ranger coming out from Nosfa, which is quite a standard pick, but we've seen, some great uses of the orb actually there from Nosfa. It's mostly, mobility, chasing down fantastic frags, especially on these larger maps. We've seen similar stuff on Molten Falls with Nosfa with his champion pick. Speaking of which, Molten Falls is the second map that was selected. Nyx coming out from DaHanG. Visor for Nosfa, removing Slash from play. Awoken the final map. BJ versus Ison with the Doomslayer taken out of play.
Doomslayer is always a pretty good ban on a map like Awoken, because if DaHanG doesn't ban the Doomslayer, there's a good chance his opponent will play it against him, and Doom with that double jump is such a solid choice on a lot of maps, but Awoken in particular is going up against the BJ on it, which is not that typical of a pick, I feel like, for Awoken. There's a few situations where he can really shine, but definitely not someone that you would consider to be a staple of the Awoken scene, I would say. Looking at Molten Falls, the Visor, definitely a useful pick, I feel like, from Nosfa, because Molten Falls is probably one of the largest maps that we have, so when you use that site effectively, you can A, make it so that your opponent doesn't hear you pop it, doesn't hear you use the ability, which is a lot harder to do on smaller maps, and B, get a lot of information even when your opponent is God knows where on the other side.
And at the same time, we have to look at the champion matchup. Nyx versus Visor. Visor's piercing sight can be a great shutdown for the Ghost Walk, which is often seen as one of the most devastating abilities in the entire game, especially in duel, because on a larger map, it's just in and out, right? It's so easy for her to kind of escape those guaranteed kill situations or set up for cheeky ambushes on you. So overall, really excited. I mean, I'm a huge fan of DaHanG, and I love watching that Strog and Pika in action. And we've been a little bit blessed, I think, that that's going to be the first pick on the first map, so we're going to get treated to some good stuff early on, but by no means is it going to be a slam dunk for DaHanG. That said, Ruins of Sarnath has always been one of his most dangerous maps.
And we're getting into it right off the bat. We've got Nosfa, we've got DaHanG. Their first map, and we're going to start this one off on Nosfa's perspective. He's immediately going to go for the Lightning Gun and make a move on Heavy. He could actually... No, he's a little late for that. DaHanG just dropping down extremely aggressively, just in and out, way with the railgun rather, right back up to the center of the map.
Nosfa having the LG spawn means that if there is kind of a full speed Strog in play, the damage DaHanG was going to take from that kind of in and out to get the rail was going to be kind of minimal, really. And it is going to be correct. DaHanG able to be nice and healthy so far, actually. He has a bunch of weapons of his own, pushing in with the rocket. Really trying to shut down the Heavy, but DaHanG pushing his way in. Going in, and the rail for Nosfa. Really good start to the fight. DaHanG not quite able to get as much damage on those rockets as he wanted, combined with Nosfa's just fantastic rail at the final minute.
That was an excellent play from Nosfa. I think he just held just the right distance where he could use his LG to the best of its abilities, while he knew that DaHanG, I don't think, really had the opportunity to get LG yet. So just by staying back far enough and using that mid-range advantage that he had, managed to get himself the first frag, but unfortunately he was left with so little damage that DaHanG instantly just chases back in and gets not one, but 2 frags and a Heavy to boot.
I think one of my favourite times to spectate a duel is right at the very beginning, because you just get to see how players approach the start to the map differently, understanding what spawn the opponent's likely to have, what weapons they're likely to stand near. This 1v1's kind of sweaty, and neither player actually going down in that exchange. Very surprising. Oh, and he's ready for the rail on the flip side. Can safely get one of the health bubbles without wasting too much time, and the health vial is going to be enough for him to push in at the very least. With this Heavy about to spawn, Nosfa trying so hard to shut it down. Actually, he is going to be just in time. And that was a hard play, but well worthwhile.
Yep, stealing the Heavy just before DaHanG gets his hands on it, and he gets the Mega as well. The problem is now that he just doesn't have that much weaponry to work with. Nosfa had an angle on DaHanG right there. He could still see the sides of Strog when he was using the Peeker, and he was railable, but maybe he just wasn't confident in being able to hit that sliver of arm that you could basically see sticking around the corner. So he went for the safe bet and took down the little robot.
DaHanG's going to go in and take away the Heavy, trying to time himself nicely so he can get the Mega at the exact same time. It looks like he's going to be perfectly on top of that now. Nosfa behind by 1 frag and actually losing by quite a lot of stack, but has a reason to be nice and patient. Lovely rail angle. Catching DaHanG was not ready for that one. And now DaHanG very weak. No,
Oh!
Pika ready to go, and the third rail. Beautiful stuff.
DaHanG exposing himself unnecessarily right there and opening himself up to a little bit more. Nosfa, what are you doing? This man is just popping off, landing rail after rail after rail, and he just goes for it. The LG is all it took, and he's got a mega for his troubles. DaHanG actually trailing behind by 1 frag.
And this is the element of Nosfa that is really, it's just grown to be such a fan favorite for a lot of players. Like this calculated but exciting aggression. DaHanG, though, is going to win that 1v1 exchange, though.
Oh, no.
Oh, perfect spawn for Nosfa, who can just simply respawn, breezily walk forward and just pepper him down a little bit.
Yeah.
Missing the rail. That's an unfortunate miss right there.
DaHanG just not expecting that spawn at all. I think it might have been him going back for that one Hellfire that Nosfa dropped that allowed him to spawn back in that corner of the stairwell. And DaHanG just wasn't expecting that at all. Nice position from Nosfa. A good rail as well. DaHanG forced to use the peeker. Doesn't do anything with it. Nosfa.
Oh, the trick you thought. Misses the rail, though. And actually, even if he did hit that rail, DaHanG would have been able to survive. And he definitely would have hit that second rocket to get the frag. He just would have been a little bit weaker. Got to give shout-outs, though, to Nosfa. His rail angles have been fantastic throughout the course of this map, particularly on the top edge of the, well, the gates, really. Now he's going in for another fight. DaHanG. Tribolt versus LG is sometimes an unwinnable fight, especially with stack comparisons like that, but DaHanG getting another good spawn. He's only going to have an LG now. DaHanG's looking for his perfect fight, but hang on a minute, the SSG. Just to get some bonus damage. Misses the rails, so DaHanG's probably not going to chase that one down too heavily.
Nosfa lucky to get out that unharmed right there because he was in a really bad spot, and now he's actually going to get a lot of free LG damage on DaHanG once again. DaHanG had full control, but then he just couldn't do any damage whatsoever in the first engagement. Kind of dropped the ball in the second one as well. And now here we go. Nosfa able to take away the mega, but that rail is going to help out a lot. And I love that peeker strat, where you use the peeker basically to sacrifice it, because you know that once they rail the peeker, they've got that little bit of a cooldown, and you can shoot basically instantly and land the shot yourself. Here we go. Nosfa knows he's there, pushes in with the heavy shotgun.
Easy
Super
shot.
shotgun, rather. Yeah, 7-7.
That piece of tech you were talking about, right? Using Pika as like a kamikaze deliberately just to get the rail cooldown. DaHanG was one of the first players I really saw started using that piece of tech.
Oh,
no ring out. Almost. Oh, wait, what? What?
No.
Did we just like shoot Ranger so fast he just went like elastic into the wall? That was fantastic.
Nosfa had to go for it, otherwise he would have just walked himself right off the map, and DaHanG was not expecting that aggressive of a push. It was a little bit uncalled for, unintended even, I would say, but that's going to be another 1-point lead for the American. This is a very explosive Ruins of Sarnath.
Hyper Blasters are coming out. Oh, that's it again, trying to get the cooldown ready.
Yep.
Get the cooldown ready and just gauge in that microsecond what angle Nosfa was standing at with the rail, so you can just quickly jump out and get a little flick before you go back down.
Yeah.
DaHanG using Pika to just win these rail fights.
Nosfa had no clue of the timing. It seemed like he was there 5 seconds early with a sliver of health just dancing around, but DaHanG, of course, got perfect knowledge of when the item's about to spawn. And right now it's looking a little bit difficult for Nosfa, because this might be the moment that DaHanG gets a solid rotation going for one of the first times this map.
I know we discussed a couple of weeks ago, ZSX and I, DaHanG is a player that plays so heavily around timings. Very rare that you'll catch DaHanG without timing on both items all the way. And now the blasters are coming in, and that's more than enough damage. Pika has served its purpose, and now Nosfa is absolutely going to... If he gets an angle here... Nosfa, I know some players don't like going for those health bubbles because there's kind of nowhere to run down there, but he has no choice, really. And, oh no, the nail. DaHanG doesn't need to do much to finish him, but actually Nosfa's hitting some really cheeky angles, and that rail was very tidy. Nosfa did a good job to do as much damage as he did, being that weak, but unfortunately it wasn't quite enough. Nosfa, full-on aggression, isn't going to quite work out, though. And he is going to drop again. 3 minutes on the clock, Flea. Not a lot of time left.
I don't know about that push, man. 3 minutes left. He was 3 frags behind, so he had plenty of time to make something happen if he had gone for maybe a major item instead or armed himself, but pushing in that aggressively with the LG. Now he's 4 frags down, and DaHanG still has a really good rotation, but looks like he's going to give up Heavy. Is Nosfa even there for it? No, Heavy is still up. Nosfa's all the way on the other side of the map. Does DaHanG realize that Heavy still hasn't been taken yet? I don't think he does.
Maybe, I think this seems like a case of both players expecting the other one to be there.
Yeah.
And Nosfa's probably using that as an opportunity to disengage, because he'd got his regular stack back up, actually, by going outside, likely trying to use it Double attack. Surely neither player have timing on the heavy now.
No.
So the player that gets the heavy will have timing on it. They both, like, DaHanG said, he's got to be down there, right?
Nope.
Genuinely not prepared for the fact that Nosfa is over there.
Oh, sends him flying backwards. A little bit of a self-propellant right there. Heavy. Come on. Now they have to know that Heavy's going to be there.
I think DaHanG's not going to go for heavy right now, though, purely on the basis that should Nosfa have been down there, it would have been too predictable. And Nosfa hasn't even tried to go down for the heavy. This was quite an interesting exchange here.
I think DaHanG moved to the top armor because he figured that I've done some damage to Nosfa. He wants to stack up and he's not going to go for heavy because he's lower than I am. But Nosfa didn't do that. He just stuck to his side of the map. And so that heavy was up uncontested for like how long? 40 seconds maybe?
Oh, but the patience paid off.
All right, there we go.
Complete ambush there from Nosfa.
Still has got a lot of work to cut out. Cut out for him rather. He's got 3 frags. Minute and 30 seconds. Average of 30 seconds. That's definitely possible, but not easy.
Has to hit these awkward rail shots. These vertical shots are not easy to land, and Nosfa's taken a lot of damage in the meantime. Combine that with the fact that DaHanG just took the Mega, and it's alarm bells a little bit. Oh, misses the rail shot. If he didn't miss it and then got the orb, that actually maybe would have been a frag. Looking at the HP that DaHanG had left over. And now DaHanG, nice and comfortable.
Yeah.
3 frags in the lead and less than a minute on the clock. This by all means should be his map. And yeah, this is Ruins of Sarnath. This is a map that DaHanG has historically had a lot of success on.
Definitely one of his better picks. Nosfa, valiant effort. He did a lot, but right now, what can he do? He's not landing his shots anymore, and DaHanG is just pelting him with heavy nail gun damage, and that's gonna be it. It seems like 30 seconds left, 4 frags. I think we can safely write this one off, and I think that DaHanG's gonna take home map 1.
There are a couple of kind of strange moments throughout the course of this map, I will be honest, but fundamentally, DaHanG able to inch out the win by a few frags here. Having a lot of control, actually, throughout the course of the map, and that does play in part to DaHanG. He always plays so heavily around timing. There are a couple of instances here where Nosfa had kind of lost that timing, and there was just, bonus frags, really, at the end of the day. A 1-0 for DaHanG so far. Nosfa absolutely made him sweat for it, but once DaHanG kind of had a firm grasp of control, it was kind of hard for Nosfa to take that away from him.
I feel like this is a very common theme for the Liquid boys, Rafa and DaHanG. The start often isn't all that good, and they're struggling a bit. They're trying to, test out what their opponent's doing, how they're going to approach the fight, and so they drop a few frags. They can't really get into control, but then around the middle of the map, there very often tends to be, like a turning point. You see this for both Rafa and DaHanG very often, where all of a sudden they get in control, they get a good rotation going, and their opponent is just like, what do I do now? I'm not even allowed to get a major item, let alone the weapon that I want, and then you just get steamrolled over and over again, and they just pull away towards the end of the map.
It is this methodical style of play that both of the Liquid boys bring to the table.
Yep.
This idea that everything they're doing is pretty damn optimal. Optimal is the term that you can easily use when describing DaHanG, that once he kind of gets a grasp and the control begins, it's how you take that control away. How rarely do we see DaHanG be constantly out of control and just bullied for an entire map, unless he's against Rafa.
Yeah.
That is the notable exception, but against most players, it just looks like DaHanG, for the most part, has the grasp, has the real control of the pace of how things are going. It almost looks like opponents are always playing around DaHanG rather than it being the other way around, even if he's not the one that's in the lead. It's a very unusual turn of events when you watch him play, but it's consistent.
Oh, absolutely. DaHanG is just an extremely powerful mix of both the brains, the strategy, as well as the tech and the raw combat ability. And he puts that on display time and time again. And if you look at the replay again, you can tell, see, 4-4, actually 5-4. Nosfa kind of pulling away here around the 4-minute mark, but that's all going to change soon when DaHanG is finally going to get into his groove and start running circles around the map.
Nosfa, he was so close for so long.
Yeah.
It started to escape from him a bit. There was that tricky moment, I think, when neither player were really going towards the heavy. And it certainly looked like DaHanG didn't have a huge amount of timing on it. I know if he heard the heavy, he would have had timing, but fundamentally, that was a lot of time wasted. Nosfa eventually got one of the frags, but this whole setup took, it almost felt like that setup took like 2 minutes, maybe a minute and a half. That's a long time when you're pretty far behind.
I feel like that previous frag that we just saw where he orbed up with the LG, I still think that was one of the deciding moments of the map. that's something that I feel like you do when you've got rockets, right? You're Ranger, you've got rockets, you close the grab, you get into their face, and you just do so much damage with the rockets. But with LG, you come up, you're close to them, you know that they have rockets and you don't. I really don't see that working out well the vast majority of times. And then, of course, you're all of a sudden 4 frags behind already. DaHanG gets a very nice rotation. You're 30 seconds without any major items. And then, yeah, what do you do?
Well, that's from one large map straight into another now, because we're going to quickly jump on a plane and go to Molten Falls. Large maps will always be maps that I will kind of favor DaHanG on for that reason. You know, I just think that when you're a calculated player that is not shy to kind of hit those funky rail angles like DaHanG normally can hit. Like, we've said this before, but DaHanG is not really a player that, if you're talking about players that have the best aim in the business, you know, would you really ever put DaHanG or Rafa in that category? Probably not. But when they need to hit really important rails, especially on larger maps where, like, you know, I need to hit the shot right now, DaHanG will almost always hit that angle. You know, no matter what the angle is, no matter how outlandishly weird the shot might be, DaHanG's pretty common to hit those shots. And on a map like this, that's kind of scary because, you know, there are these odd angles where you're trying to escape. It's like, I've just got to hope he misses the shot. DaHanG really will. Don't want to jinx him, but, you know, these kind of large maps, especially now he's got the safety net of the Nyx, it's something to be worried about. Nosfa, that the visor, he has all the tools needed to handle this matchup, but DaHanG's Nyx is very scary indeed.
It's going to be interesting to see how Nosfa approaches this with the piercing sight. So far, he hasn't really been using it much. He's just maybe holding on to it to use it as a hard counter against the Nyx, because that's really what it is, right? Nyx the Ghost Hawk, it makes her invisible, keeps her away from you being able to identify her exact location, but when you use the piercing sight, you will know instantly where she's at, no matter what she does. So it's basically a hard counter to that ability. But on the other hand, do you really want to keep holding on to it? Because you're losing so much utility and so much information that you can get. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Nosfa approaches this. He does end up using the piercing sight right there, as DaHanG leaves the room, so he doesn't get that much utility out of it, but he's got to be careful. Yeah,
now the danger lies in the fact that DaHanG has got the full rotation of both items and kept his Ghost Walk. So should a fight actually break out, there's going to be a combination of small hitbox versus bigger stack versus Ghost Walk is actually ready to go. No fight really is going to benefit Nosfa yet unless he can get some of those cheeky shots first. I think that's why he was kind of almost half fishing there for somewhat of a surprise, just in case DaHanG went around that corner. Nosfa needs to give himself any kind of initial edge he can because he's out of control. DaHanG has more of a stack even before he collects this Mega. And DaHanG actually really doing the right thing. He's forced a delay in between the two items, and he's trying to just pepper out some free damage beforehand, making Nosfa even more uncomfortable.
Nosfa a little premature with that rocket right there. Could have done so much more, but doesn't quite manage to do the damage. Now, one of the other important things to consider is that Nosfa does have the natural stack advantage being a medium-sized champion. So that means that even when he manages...
Oh my god!
Okay, yep.
Just the super shotgun. just that.
That's all you need. But even if Nosfa manages to land one rail on DaHanG when he's basically fully stacked with Mega and Heavy, it's basically equalized instantly just because the cap that Nyx has to her stack. So Nosfa can definitely take advantage of this, but when you're out of control and someone really angry comes after you with super shotgun, what do you do?
Well, the piercing sight's been used, but not really to much avail, honestly. It was more of a, okay, you're here, I'm going to run away now.
Yeah, it was entirely a defensive piercing sight. Like, DaHanG uses his Ghost Hawk, out comes the piercing sight just to be like, I know you're there, I know what you're trying to do, don't. And DaHanG just listened and said, okay, I'm in control anyways, I've got a 1 frag lead, I'm just going to focus on the items some more.
And then with the exception of some of the movement, if DaHanG is able to kind of put himself in this favorable position where, right now, because of just the sheer nature of how he forced out the piercing sight, that there's kind of like a natural offset between the two abilities. There's always the chance now that DaHanG is going to be able to use the Ghost Walk should he see fit, and he's going to be able to kind of catch the off rhythm of the piercing sight. Looks like Nosfa has been able to collect some hourglasses though, so he has got it locked and loaded. But is he going to use it? You know, he's trying to set up some fights here, but he knows DaHanG has the Ghost Walk ready to rock. And now there's potential that maybe he's going to try and set up a rail angle. He actually has used the piercing sight, so DaHanG has to worry a little bit. He's 1 HP short of railable at this moment.
Heavy is about to spawn Nosfa. I don't think he has exact timing. He will have it now. DaHanG cleverly holding on to the Ghost Walk right there. He pops it the moment he picks up Heavy, and he did that entirely to secure and basically keep as much of his stack as he possibly could. And he's even gonna go for those small hourglasses completely out of the way. You don't very often see people go for those, but Nyx is a champion due to how squishy she is. That's really reliant on her ability a whole lot. So DaHanG is not going to shy away from those hourglasses at all, and is really going to actively track him down.
Yeah, Nyx versus Visor has always seemed to be kind of one of those classic champion matchups these days. It's not only a matter of two abilities that kind of work directly against each other, but it's this idea of both champions being insanely ability focused. So there's this constant battle of power between the hourglasses. Who can maintain the hourglasses more? Who's ready for how many hourglasses have been taken? You have so much extra maths in your head just to make sure you know you're taking a fight when an ability is or isn't ready. Quite is a thinking man's matchup, is this one.
And you can see it's very well reflected in the pace of the match as well, right? Runes of Sarnet was a very aggressive matchup.
Oh, we expected him to be further towards Heavy.
Yeah, Nosfa taking opportunity of the time he gets through using that Ghost Walk, or DaHanG using the Ghost Walk to just instantly jump on the Heavy and put himself above railable stack.
Hourglasses have been taken though. Not the ones near jump pad. DaHanG getting 4 of those, which means the Piercing Sight and the Ghost Walk should be kind of nicely together. Nosfa, I wonder if that rail was a Piercing Sight rail straight through the teleporter. Oh, no.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, there's just a why not shot, perhaps. And he's going to land the needle. And there it is, the direct counter. You can't run from me. Nosfa looking to secure himself a frag here. Full speed ahead, but he can't gauge with the super shotgun. That fight was actually a little bit more nerve-wracking than perhaps it should have been. Nosfa didn't quite have the information on where he would be past the teleporter. He had kind of taken like a pop shot just in case. And now chasing it down. Nosfa trying to retreat. DaHanG's not going to chase it down heavily just yet. We still have time. And with there only being 1 frag apiece, there's always a way to just win this by 1 frag.
For a moment there, I was fearing for DaHanG's safety because he didn't have Ghost Walk when he picked up the Mega, but then all of a sudden the LG was just murderous, and Nosfa was like, okay, I gotta get out of here. Fearing for my own safety now.
Oh no! That is an unfortunate Piercing Sight. Used to try and potentially look at an angle not to hit himself, but has he got an angle on me that I can get out of the way and survive this fight? The second he pops Piercing Sight, he gets turned to paste by DaHanG's rail. Hate to see that happen, but that is going to give DaHanG the lead. 1 frag may be it, but that's going to be expanded now. The Heavy's been taken. Nosfa trying to jump ship towards Mega to set up. The danger is Piercing Sight. It's only just about to become available. And DaHanG, with the Ghost Walk ready to use, does Nosfa use it to initiate and to start an attack and take away some of this Mega, or does he use it if he essentially has the chance to force out a Ghost Walk? Looks like he is holding on to it.
Nosfa knows that he can't play too aggressively right now either, because if he gives up another frag now against a Nyx played by DaHanG, who can really play a defensive game, and as we have been discussing this entire time, is extremely tactical and calculated, he would be in so much trouble, and he is right now. 2 frags, 2.5 minutes to go. This is extremely difficult for Nosfa to pull back.
Piercing Sight was used as well, which means that there was no way he saw that one coming. So excellent rockets going in for the finishing round, which actually is going to miss its mark. That is going to give somewhat of an opening to Nosfa. It depends if he can actually hit the angle or not. DaHanG, tender at 40 HP, still no armor. Heavy has spawned though, so now he's back up to the 100. Good stuff. And now Nosfa. This comeback is definitely possible. There is more than enough time left on the clock. Danger is, DaHanG is not making anything that resembles an angle easy at all. He's hitting these weird rails or these defensive rockets, and the second Nosfa has what looks like an opening, DaHanG is kind of, as soon as you can spot it, it's taken away.
And he's very clearly switching to a more passive playstyle as well, DaHanG, because earlier after that engagement at Mega, DaHanG could have easily jumped down to those 2 health bubbles and contested for them, and probably gotten an allowance scot-free, but he didn't. He just turned around, went all the way to the other side of the map, because he knew that there was a small opportunity that Nosfa could get the frag right there, and he didn't even want to risk it. And that's exactly what I think we can expect for the next minute and a half. DaHanG's gonna hang on to that Ghost Walk, doesn't want to use it unless he absolutely has to, and Nosfa's gonna try and chase him down.
Piercing Sight's ready again. Question is, how much use is it going to serve? Yeah, he has used it now, so there is the awareness there, but should DaHanG need to use the Ghost Walk to finish the job, use it aggressively? Not that he really has any reason to at this stage. He can. thanks to there being no piercing sight. Even the hourglasses, though, it's only just been popped, and you can see, thanks to the hourglasses, DaHanG hasn't used his Ghost Walk in quite a while. These are some lovely rockets, and misses the rail. That one's a bit unfortunate. It's going to allow DaHanG to just get the Mega, escape. No reason to take a fight. Let's just waste the time. How much time now is it going to take Nosfa to restack back up before he can even begin to fight?
I feel like that was the last opportunity that Nosfa really had to realistically make a comeback happen, unless he scores big right here and lands a miracle rail. He did one. He's gonna need some more than that, though. Surely he has to push. He doesn't really have the time to just back away again. DaHanG, he's just gonna find himself a little health level, put himself above that railable threshold of 90 points of health. Nosfa missing some more important shots, and at this point, with 20 seconds left on the clock, I think it's essentially sealed.
Absolutely. A 2-0 for DaHanG, looking likely. Unless he gets a frag right now, and then just magically gets a perfect spawn. Oh, DaHanG being tricky.
Oh.
And he's gonna delay as much as he can here. Very, very, very,
No,
very,
he's back.
very unlikely.
He's got the Ghost Walk.
Yeah, if he had an extra few seconds and no Ghost Walk, then perhaps. But DaHanG wasted just enough time by that end teleporter that there was nothing to worry about.
I feel like he actually could have delayed a lot longer still, but he didn't want to risk it, because if you then spawn and your opponent is right in front of you, you can really be in a bad spot. So DaHanG just didn't want to use the full time of his respawn timer, knowing that if I respawn now, I know that Nosfa is still pretty far away from me. So when he's coming at me, I can just use my Ghost Walk and get away. So clever plays from the American.
I mean, overall, a 2-0 victory for DaHanG at least. The first map was, I think, definitely a lot closer. Fundamentally, DaHanG, it's another one of those grasps where DaHanG, even though there was no crazy frag deficit in between the two, DaHanG was the one that looked like he was in control. He played around the piercing sight wonderfully. Like, very rarely did it kind of look like the piercing sight was something that DaHanG had to worry about. I mean, that changed about here, where finally we saw the direct answer. And even then, this fight, like, it was not as comfortable as perhaps we would expect it. That was just caught with your pants down moment, I think. You know, Nosfa kind of just standing. The one time he stands perfectly still, DaHanG's around the corner. And that was, you know, kind of like a free frag there for DaHanG. And then, yeah, the second he decided to take his foot off the gas and it was about passive defensive play, DaHanG can do that well too. He is a player of many styles, and that's kind of why he thrives, that he's not kind of a player that you can just figure out. You know,
no, absolutely not.
You figure out one element to how he approaches one map. The next time you play him on that map, it's going to be something completely different.
Yeah, he's a very reactive player who can very easily adjust his own playstyle in light of what he sees his opponent do. So if he can tell that Nosfa favors a certain playstyle, a certain area of the map, a certain weapon, DaHanG can very easily just play around that and know exactly what to do to avoid taking damage and just getting enough of a lead to then run down the clock. And that's more or less exactly what he did.
There's one of those situations where by no means is Nosfa a player that has to really worry so much about points. I think he's doing okay. That just consistency alone will carry him through to the Stage 2 finals, and it's, you know, about how he does on the day. There's always this kind of mixed bag of players that we have to deal with this later on in Pro League, where the ones you really think about, I think, are the relegation players, because they're the ones that, you know, are about to have the more immediate changes. This isn't one of those series. A 3-0 would just be, I think, disappointing for Nosfa and just another day in the office for DaHanG, kind of establishing his position as undisputed number 2 of Americas,
absolutely,
and just constantly reminding us why he is one of the more talented and, I guess, bigger-brained players that we have in the scene. But if Nosfa can at least make this a 2-1, it's something that you can kind of end the stream with, okay, well, it wasn't completely hopeless.
Yeah, I do think that Nosfa long-term probably has a few things to worry about, though, because he did really well in Stage 1, which helped get him to the level or the leaderboard position that he's at right now. But Stage 2, he's really been faltering a bit, and he's got to turn something around. And who knows, maybe this map is the one. Nosfa playing the BJ, starting over at the Mega site, and look at that. DaHanG is immediately delaying heavy by close to 10 seconds. If he gets the upper hand in his next coming confrontations, he can string together a solid rotation from the very start.
Checking out from Nosfa's perspective first, I like it. You know, DaHanG has been kind of ahead of most maps, so we've spent most of the maps watching DaHanG in the first place. So it's quite nice to actually check out some Nosfa. See how he handles this, and that is quite a bad start for poor Nosfa. He's going to die. Oh, God. Turret, you jerk. Why didn't you die the first time? That's what he wanted.
Nosfa just shows up and he's like, oh, this turn, let me take this down real quick, and bam, 100 damage to the face.
That turret totally just turned around and went, did you just disrespect me?
Yeah, pretty much.
Put some respect on my name. That's it, dead. DaHanG already knows what's going on. 2-0 in a minute, though. This is one hell of a start. It's one of the worst ways Nosfa actually could have started things off. Looking for a rail angle. Dual wield has been popped, and the super shotgun, is it going to be enough? He second-guessed it just to set up the shot, and that's enough time that DaHanG needs to land the killing blow. 3-0, and health bubbles around. This is not the start that Nosfa was looking for, Flea.
What a tremendous amount of LG damage coming out. Nosfa basically just pinned to the floor in that situation. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And again, that's another 60 damage coming out of the turret, just like that. That's going to be another hit. Yup, 70. DaHanG knows Nosfa's low, and he's gonna take full advantage of that too. 4 frags already, Ketchup.
That was, I gotta say, that 71 rocket was a beautiful just check around the corner just in case rocket. Like, that is the kind of specific angle that I think most players probably wouldn't have covered.
Yeah. And there we go, Nosfa getting himself on the board for the first time on the final map of this series. Definitely not out for the count just yet. He might be able to set up a bit of a rotation here.
Some of the rail damage. Unfortunately,
that's a good rocket.
It is going to be a 2 versus 1. Oh, the BJ scream of death, and you know what that means. My boy's on imminent death's door. You hate to see it, but 5-1 now for DaHanG. Perfectly timing the Mega, and he's now going to be able to collect, get the timing in his head. There's a really chunky delay between Mega and Heavy, so DaHanG, if he plays his cards right, can just run that circuit. Beautiful rail on the way down there.
Oh, it was such a good opening rocket from Nosfa too. The damage at the start really set him up to maybe make something out of it, but then DaHanG just landed that one rail, and then Nosfa stuck around. And again, what? The turret is doing tremendous amounts of damage. I'm not sure if Nosfa is just not prepared for DaHanG to have the turrets at these positions, because they seem to be pretty common positions, but he's just unable to take them down fast enough before they do a lot to him. Another nice rocket, there we go.
The danger is, but even if Nosfa kind of, I suppose, wakes up a little bit to these turrets and starts making them not as prominent as he's just running around the map, the danger is it's already caused a lot of damage. It's caused a lot of frags to go down. DaHanG has a 5-1 lead in 3 minutes, and the turret again. He's so focused on looking for the rail angle, though, that he really can't risk being on cooldown from that range, because DaHanG will simply go in for the kill.
Yeah.
It's serving a similar purpose to what a Pika would do. It gets you to use a rail or use a gun, so it's A, distractions, and B, if you rail it, you're on cooldown for 3 damage. And that's the last thing you want when you've got 4 frags to make up.
DaHanG is just playing this beautifully by always relying on the circumstances and the situation. You know, he introduces that extra variable that draws the other player's attention away from what's really happening in front of him, and then by the time you're trying to take down the Peeker or the turret or whatever else is going on, DaHanG is just on you out of nowhere, and we saw that the very first frag of the game went that way.
DaHanG is just a player that likes stuff. He just sits there on the map and goes, behold, my stuff. Go on, do it, show me your stuff.
He tried. Very little damage exchanged right there, and now Nosfa actually is the one with the stack lead. Out comes the dual LG, but DaHanG just drops right on the head on Nosfa. Nosfa no longer has LG ammo to his name, and it's gonna cost him dearly.
That's fine. I called Rafa Waffa the other day because he was against Waz. Still not forgotten about it.
I like Nosfa though. It's got like a
Nosfa and Waffa.
Yeah, absolutely.
The dream team. Oh, looking for the finishing shot. Oh, Nosfa's so weak, and yeah, I mean, rock at a hard place really. If you went through the teleport or the turret, or DaHanG was going to be able to finish him all the same.
Yeah.
And now 7-1 before the 5-minute warning has even come through here. And now Nosfa, at a very early stage, I think has already been kind of forced into that tricky position where it's, okay, do I have to start being kind of, oh, that rail. So good, now he's going to show him his stuff. Nosfa's in that situation where he's like, it's only 5 minutes, but oh, behold!
That's such a risk, because you know what Nosfa was thinking, right? He's like, DaHanG's going out the bounce pad. This is my opportunity. He's stuck in that set trajectory. I can do damage very easily. And so he rushes in to try and get an angle on DaHanG, and then before he knows it, pop, 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 down you go.
The turret's just there to be like, oh no, baby, what are you doing?
And now DaHanG, 7 frag of elite.
I actually quite like that rocket jump. Like, just even if there is an LG trap there, to try and maybe put yourself out of range of it as he's going towards Mega.
That, or he just tried to rocket down but mistimed it by a fraction of a second.
Nah, I'm going with my tinfoil hat theory.
I mean, it is DaHanG, right?
Ride the wave, baby, ride the wave.
Ride the wave, indeed. Either way, it worked out for him, right? Whether it was intentional, unintentional, who knows? And now Nosfa landing some pretty decent damage, but he needs so much more, and he needs it to happen quickly too.
Yeah, the danger is that there really is nowhere Nosfa's been on the map that DaHanG hasn't been totally ready for. These rails are absolutely fantastic. Doesn't need a rail anymore, and he knows he's going to swap to the SSG because there's... At this point, I wonder if DaHanG was like... I wonder when he's actually going to die, though, because he was incredibly weak. They swapped to the SSG just to finish the job, but...
I love that, again, in that situation, the turret just started shooting from below, like, I'm here too, you're stuck in here with me. Yeah. Oh, DaHanG turning away at the wrong second. This is an opportunity for...
Oh, spoke too soon.
Spoke a little too soon. It was an opportunity. He just didn't capitalize on it.
But in this position, it's tricky for Nosfa now because, I mean, he has to be aggressive, right? He cannot afford to be careful anymore.
Yeah.
Like, there's betting it on a snowball effect, and there's being 9 frags down when you've got, 3 minutes left on the clock. DaHanG, he has to royally screw up, I think, to lose this map at this stage. He's just played phenomenally since the very beginning. There has been kind of a string of disasters. The turret has been more of a thorn in Nosfa's side than perhaps it really should have been. There have been some tricky moments here where Nosfa simply, he's just eaten so much damage that DaHanG hasn't even really had to do much to finish the job. It's kind of surprising to see.
There we go.
But yeah, he finally gets a frag, but unless he just so happens to just go bam, 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 I mean, this is a done deal. And he's just now chaining it through. The LG is nice, but the rails are so good. And that was a rail side spawn. It was the only weapon he could really use.
Yeah. Nosfa gets the frag of the respawn though, but yeah, what are you gonna do? 8 frags, 2 minutes. Here we go, DaHanG. Can he make it happen again? The miracle rails. He has to come through right now. Lands 1. Misses the second, and that will give Nosfa some more breathing room. But yeah, does it really still matter at this point? That's the question.
Well, Nosfa, he's finally kind of broken the cycle that DaHanG has been able to establish, but he broke it 7 minutes into the map. And by that point, so much damage has been done that there's too much of a mammoth task left to do. There's just too much work. I realistically just don't see Nosfa even coming close to being able to pull this one back. Because at the same time, he has to make sure that DaHanG is not getting the odd frag here and there at the same time.
Yeah.
And DaHanG has no signs of slowing down here. Yeah, he gave up a few frags, but so what? Now he can be crazy defensive.
I mean, you said it yourself earlier, right? The only way that this can still go wrong for DaHanG is if he screws up majorly. And if there's one thing that I feel like the Liquid guys are really good at, it's not screwing up majorly. Both of them extremely disciplined, very well-practiced players that have spent countless of hours perfecting their craft and grinding it out. And you really just don't see DaHanG make these kinds of important mistakes. Maybe giving up 1 frag or 2 frags, but there's no way he's gonna give up this many.
Well, that is going to result in a 3-0 victory, though, for DaHanG. I did kind of favour him here. I genuinely did believe that it had the potential to be a 2-1 here. It just seems a little bit like Nosfa. He's starting to have kind of consistency trouble here in the Quake Pro League. Stage 2 has not really been his cup of tea.
Not at all.
He's unquestionably had a harder time here than he has in Stage 1. I know DaHanG was one hell of an opponent, but this has just been a dominant performance from DaHanG today. He's just looked one step ahead. That tri-bolt, I mean, final nail in the coffin. Victory lap from this stage, 30 seconds on the clock. But, I mean, we may as well end the map right now. This map is finished.
I mean, after having a really good Stage 1 from Nosfa, now, so far in Stage 2, he's lost to Dramis, Saigib, Dewey, Rafa, and now DaHanG as well. And a lot of those are absolute top-tier players, but still, definitely not living up to the hype that he set at the end of Stage 1.
Yeah, they're matchups that if we saw him against in Stage 1, we would have been like, oh, he'll definitely win that. And he was able to kind of follow through in many of those. And even at the Stage 1 finals, he looked solid at the Stage 1 finals at the same time. It's just, I think there is reflection now potentially needed here for Nosfa, who is sequentially just having a harder and harder time as the Quake Pro League goes on. Maybe the competition's ramping up, maybe the players in general are getting better. Either way, there is some serious self-reflection perhaps that needs to be done. Yeah,
I absolutely think so. Nosfa definitely not living up to the hype, and I don't know what's going on. There's some other circumstances going on, but yeah, Nosfa, he's got some thinking to do, especially going into the Stage 2 finals. Like I said, he's pretty much safe for Stage 2. But after that, if this keeps going the way it has been, he can really be in trouble somewhere in Stage 3.
And on the flip side, this was just a wonderful display from DaHanG. I feel like too many of these frags were a consequence of the turret.
Yeah.
The turret caught Nosfa at kind of more than one occasion in a situation that you look at and go, huh, really? But, I mean, who's not going to complain about that is DaHanG, who will just take the damage and then combo into it happily, taking the frags all day, every day, and another day in the office for the accountant, I think. He's going to take that with a 3-0, nice and convincingly. Good shape going into the Stage 2 finals. Just maintaining his number 2 spot here in the Americas. Looking like the only player that can really touch him properly these days is Rafa.
Yep.
I know he has been bested in the past, but in terms of just sheer consistency, DaHanG is right up there.
I wish we could see the amount of turret damage that DaHanG has done. Like, my bet would be 200-300, like something like that. Ridiculous amounts of damage.
Right there.
Yeah.
I will save you, master.
There, you see it from Nosfa's point of view. He just rushes in, and then all of a sudden he looks to the right, and he's like, oh, hello. And by that point, it's too late. Fortunately for him, DaHanG, a very dominant performance, cleaning this up 3-0, netting himself another 16 points, and definitely cementing his position as the second best player in the NA.
Just continuing his dominance, I suppose, and when it comes to DaHanG, that's all he's really looking to do. He wants to stay on top of form as much as he can, keep as much points as possible, and as we go into the Stage 2 finals, you know, it's just a matter of preparation. DaHanG's going to be one of those players that you expect to do well and make it through to the next day of games. So overall, well done to DaHanG, reminding everyone why he's as good as he is. And for me, mostly, it's the pressure's on Nosfa at this stage. There really needs to kind of just be a little bit of improvement coming in, because things look a little bit harder than they did in Stage 1. I think that the competition is starting to level up. Nosfa's having a bit of a harder time, and by no means am I going to count him out. Because
no,
from when we see Nosfa on LAN, he's a different beast.
Absolutely.
You know, he was able to best players like DaHanG at QuakeCon. That was really one of the series for Quake Champions that put Nosfa on the map. This convincing defeat against one of the absolute best players on the planet, and you know, looking good while he did it. That he was popping off, he was feeling himself. You know, he was getting the crowd hype, he was getting the people watching the stream hype, all while displaying some of the best Quake he's ever played in his life, right? And that was only, you know, like barely 6 months ago or something, maybe not even that. So there's always room for improvement.
I mean, even if he's not playing at the best he has shown us so far, I'm still really excited to see Nosfa at the Stage 2 finals, just because of his presence and his personality and the energy. Like you said, he knows how to get the crowd going. He's really confident, and he will just go in it with an attitude of, I am going to win this, behold.
And I do strongly believe, though, that Nosfa does play better on LAN. He has proven that he plays exceptionally well on LAN multiple times. So even if he's in the safe zone, it's fine, because that's what matters for him. And now he can practice for LAN, and then bam, he's in an area where he can play it really at his best. We've got some more series where that came from, plenty more Quake Champions for tonight. We're going to go for a quick break and set up more of those games. This is week number 8 of Stage 2 of the Quake Pro League. See you in a sec.